Hey, random internet strangers, random Forex guy still here. Uh, Figured I'd do a double feature because because there was a lot to talk about, and I wanted to go over my general portfolio of cryptocurrency. Now I have other assets and other areas. As I have stated in the past, I do have a 401k. I do have a day job. This is a part-time position. I'm still a part-time trader. I haven't made the transition yet. I hope to be able to do that sometime within the next year to 3 years. It will depend uh, upon how well cryptocurrency does in general. My trading's doing just fine, still making a profit, but the compounding does take time in order for it to build up to a level where I'm taking out less than what I'm making in order to live and survive. So that takes a lot of time. So, and it takes a big chunk of change. We're talking, mid to high six figures, and I am not there yet. So, getting back to what my crypto portfolio looks like. Just want to say this is the only Tezos. I started talking about Tezos in the last video before it got cut off. Uh, I'm not paid to push any of this stuff. The only payment I'm getting from Tezos is the staking that I put down. I may plan on doing a complete stake, which as of right now takes about $10,000 in order to become uh, proof of stake and to be part of a node in the network, because they do proof of stake as opposed to mining, which I think is great because it doesn't take up all that energy. It just takes money in order to do that. And I think it's a great idea. Proof of stake is a wonderful idea. Uh, I believe Ethereum is heading in the same direction. If I remember right, Ethereum is everything is pre-mined, and that they do also do some type of proof of stake. I'm not real sure about that. I am bullish on Ethereum as well, but uh, I'll get to that in a minute. The reason I'm doing Tezos is, as I said, it's just basically a savings account that earns 5.5% interest per year. I think that once it catches fire, this is where they initially started their offering that 5.5% APY. So you're making 5.5%. That's better than any uh, savings account that you can find at any bank. I know it's less than 1% on banks. Banks just rip you off left and right, and I'll be happy to see them go as we continue to convert towards a borderless, frictionless money society. Uh, so you can see right here that it took off pretty quickly, and now it's kind of leveling out, dropping down below, but we have definitely got some support here at this level. And I think it's just the initial wave, the initial accumulation phase of something very big. Uh, I know a lot of people talk about Elliott waves. I kind of agree with Elliott waves, but I kind of disagree with them as well because supply and demand trumps even Elliott waves. And so what we have here is the initial offering of the APY, and then it continues on, and then we see a drop here, but we do have support at this level. And I, as the stock market corrects and more money starts flowing back and looking for safe havens, I think this is one of the places where you're kind of average citizen, not so much an institutional trader, but people are going to go into Coinbase and they're going to say, Coinbase being the largest uh, in the United States, and they are offering this, and they are doing the stake for you. If you don't have the $10,000, I forget how many Tezos it is that equates to. I think it's 8,000. I can't remember the exact numbers, but you have to have a certain amount of Tezos in order to become a node in the blockchain network and be a consensus verifier. So I think that this is a great idea. There's a little one that's more stable called the US coin, which offers a 1.5%, which is still better than most uh, banks that are going to give it. So, that's another great place to, if you can't stomach the ride of the Bitcoin, then it's a nice stable value, and you get a nice increase. But I see Tezos as definitely a bull sign coming up here. You see a big volume spike here at the initial offering. It's kind of leveled off since then in the volume down here. So it's definitely part of my portfolio. And as I said, I kind of backed off of Ethereum because let's take a look at Ethereum. I don't have any right now, but this is, it did touch the 20 and then pop back down, but it hasn't seen its bottom yet, and that's why I pulled out. I pulled out, I believe, over here somewhere. One of these two candles I pulled out. I just, in the long run, I think Ethereum is going to make something of itself, but as I've said in the past, I think they're getting too schizophrenic, too trying to do too many things at once, and getting involved in too many different projects. I've heard Ethereum equated to a different type of concrete to build infrastructure, much like Bitcoin is. Uh, so it is a base structure. It is now in the futures market, and the SEC is getting involved, and uh, it's becoming more regulated, and because of the smart contracts and the different way that it's been built compared to Bitcoin, I think that commercially used is going to be very useful, but it's going to take much longer for it to catch fire as opposed to Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I believe, is going to dominate the market as because it has the brand recognition, and now the institutions are grabbing hold of it to sell to the people, to the masses. I think it's going to get mass adoption this year. So I'm very shorter term bullish on Bitcoin as opposed to Ethereum, because Ethereum has a lot more obstacles and roadblocks. It has a lot more applications, but I think that those applications are still, until Bitcoin shows that that it can prove its market dominance, Ethereum is going to continue to drop until uh, Bitcoin has established itself as the main player, and then Ethereum will then take stage again as once the corporations realize the potential of not just the cryptocurrency but blockchain technology, because that's what Ethereum is. It's the expansion of the actual technology as opposed to just being money, to be contracts, to be a store of anything of value, so that and I think that's going to take a little bit longer to take hold. So that's why I've pulled out of Ethereum for the time being. But long term, 5 to 10 years, definitely a bullish scenario for Ethereum. But in the near term, the 12 to 18 months, 12 to 24 months, not so much. It's still got to prove itself worthy to be adopted. I think eventually it will be the uh, uh, the blockchain used for smart contracts to be used for things besides money, but the money has got to front run the rest of the applications of what blockchain can do. So that's why I pulled out of Ethereum. Uh, Moving on, the last one. Now, there's a lot of different companies that do this, but there's only one that's actually shown progress in actual application, and that's XRP. I haven't talked to any about XRP a lot. I've been, uh, as I said, I listened to Chatter, and first I was all on board with Chainlink. Chainlink is promising something similar that XRP is already doing. That is Ripple's bank-to-bank currency exchange program, and they already have contracts with over 200 banks in doing bank-to-bank exchanges. So here's XRP USD. You see we're still in a downtrend, but we bottomed out here. So it's a good buy. Let's see if we can expand out a little bit. See, it has been slowly dwindling. Had a big sell-off here. Buyback here. This was in September 19, so this has only been like 3 months ago. This was all done on speculation on what XRP could do. As part of the Ripple community, they've have a lot of different ideas, but the XRP I think is a great buy right now, because I mean the chart is a little bit iffy on me, but I've been seeing a lot of positive chatter about the being coupled with the different banks and banks actually using it. Last year, I heard that they have transferred over $100 million or 100 billion. I can't remember the exact number. It was quite a bit. Uh, and they partnered with over 200 banks. And if this catches mass adoption, and they're the only one I've heard of that actually has actual proof of being a bank-to-bank exchange for exchanging currencies from, like, let's say you want to do exchange with a bank and send money to Mexico from the United States, and you take your United States dollars, the bank would take it, turn it into XRP, shoot it over to a Mexican bank that uses the XRP network, convert it into pesos, and make it frictionless and seamless. Otherwise, that transaction under normal circumstances, there's a company called Swift that does it, take days, maybe weeks, where this would take almost instantaneously, 5, 10, 15 seconds. So I think that once it catches fire, hey, we're on the ground floor of something big. There are other companies out there that are offering this, Chainlink being one, which I've talked about earlier. Let's take a look at Chainlink. But XRP is the only one that I've heard. If there's been others that have actual, where is, I just want USD. Chainlink, here we go. Chainlink is pretty much flatlined. It hasn't shown a lot of, there's not a lot of data because it's newer, but it's not showing a lot of plus or minus either way. Let's see if we can zoom in here a little bit, see if we can see any price action in here. This last little bit. See, it's not showing much of anything as far as movement. It's in the United States dollar. So nope, I don't want to leave yet. So I'm not sure about Chainlink being one of the big players. At least we see some actual movement and some actual uh, statistics on XRP being a player in that market. So those are the three. I've narrowed it down to three because I think that in the short term, the 12 to 24, maybe 36 months, that the money is, and the banks have got to set up some type of infrastructure. And those are the dominant players, I think, that there are going to be in the future, where Bitcoin is going to be for the consumer, Tezos is going to be for the saver, and XRP being for the institutional to transfer money frictionlessly and cheaply around the world.